Welcome to the 2020 SNAP E&T National Forum session, Braiding Funding, Skill Up. My name is Sonia Jefferson, and I am a Senior Program Specialist with the Mountains Plains Regional Office, and I will be serving as your moderator today. Today, you will be hearing a presentation from Diane Zimbro, June Odell, and Sally Payne on this timely subject. Diane is the Executive Director of the Northeast Missouri Workforce Development Board, representing 16 counties in Missouri. June is the President and Chief Operating Officer of the Southeast Workforce Development Board, representing 13 counties in Southeast Missouri. And last but not least is Sally. She is the Interim Director of the City of Springfield, Department of Workforce Development, representing 7 counties in Southwest Missouri. We thank you for joining today's session. Please remember that any discussions today do not reflect official USDA policy guidance. As you view the presentations, please ask your questions through the Q&A feature on the Zoom taskbar and ask your comments in the chat box below. At the conclusion of the presentations, the presenters will have the opportunity to address your questions. Let's begin. Diane, would you mind discussing what TEAM is and what braiding means to your respective regions?
Well, thank you for the introduction, Sandra. TEAM is the acronym for Training and Employment Administrators of Missouri. TEAM is a group consisting of directors from the 14 workforce development regions. We meet monthly as a team, and we also meet with the leadership team from the Missouri Office of Workforce Development and many of our partners. The result of this partnership is to move Missouri forward in developing strategies and sharing innovative ideas with the ultimate goal of providing a competitive and skilled workforce for our employers and to grow our economy.
Okay, I found this on the web for innovative ideas with the ultimate goal of providing a competitive and skilled workforce for our employers and to grow our economy. Check it out.
I am so sorry.
That is A-okay. Even Siri knows what a skilled workforce is and wants to help us with our presentation. Go ahead.
In the presentation today, we will be sharing ideas of how to have that conversation with the client to help determine their needs and what resources they will need. We will also cover how to connect with the right partners and share some real-life examples of how we are braiding services. We all know and understand that it takes a lot of the right partners and resources to do our jobs, and we are able to braid funds and resources. It makes our jobs much easier. Managing this can be a complex task, and Sally will share how to best manage the process. 2020 has been a challenging year for all of us, and we are all looking for ways to better navigate our new normal. So we will share some ways of doing that and hope you will feel free to share your experiences as well. We will start with, what are braided services? As you know, many of our organizations are serving a similar, or in some cases, the same population. Because most of us are funded by grants, it is our job to be good stewards of the money, and most of us have experienced deep funding cuts. So everything we do to leverage our money and our other resources will benefit everyone, especially our clients. We want to make sure we are making every resource available to them so that they can succeed in reaching their goals. As you can see on this slide, the people we serve can have one barrier, and in many cases, many barriers to overcome. And if we're going to truly serve these folks, it is our job to eliminate as many of them as possible. I just want to point out that when we talk about braiding services, the first thing that comes to mind is money. Of course, this is a necessary piece of the puzzle, but it's not everything. There are many organizations that can bring other things to the table, such as staffing or equipment and supplies. And as we were planning a reverse job fair for our clients with disabilities, the SB 40 office in Kirksville offered to host the clients at their community room to help them with their storyboards, and they would supply the materials and the staff to assist them. Next slide. In addition, they offer to hold training classes to assist them with their resumes and interviewing skills. In order to understand what other agencies in the area have to offer, we have an access meeting that includes agencies in our region that serve people with barriers. We have guest speakers, plan events, allow all agencies to share what they're doing. We also hold a weekly all-staff training. We invite partners to speak to our staff, either to let them know about their services or to perform a training. We have many agencies that cannot provide financial assistance, but they offer up their facility to hold meetings or events and help to market by posting and sharing on social media, provide transportation, and of course, we all share referrals. As the saying goes, it takes a village, and it does. Some examples of braiding. We did a project with the Department of Corrections. We've been working with them to develop programs that would provide justice-involved individuals the training, education, resources, confidence, and supports to assist them in overcoming the barriers they face. Our first step was to pull in all of the partners, and you can see those all listed on this slide. We then identified what each partner's role would be so we could begin putting our timeline together. We found in this first project that we were missing a couple of key elements: regular communication between partners and follow-up processes. We developed a flow chart that all partners could follow. A single point of contact was appointed, and we agreed to have all partner calls on a monthly basis to bring everybody up to date. This is a key factor in the process because many of the people we are serving in reentry move, and we're not able to follow them so that we can ensure that they have all of the supports in place for as long as they need them. As you can see in this picture, one of the partners that we work with is Connections to Success, and they make sure that they suit all of the participants so that they have that on to graduate, and they have an interview suit for when they're released. Okay. Another project we worked on was with our Community Action Agency. They had reached out to us to see what we could do to help their folks that are in low-income housing. So we partnered with them with Skill Up and some other projects, and we participated in a back-to-school event and shared with what we had to offer. And we end up coming up with 27 applications so far, and expect more. These applicants will all be placed in training and at one of our community colleges or other eligible trainers, and will complete a professional and personal development training course. And since most of these folks are SNAP recipients, we will be able to pay for their training, supportive services by blending funds from TANF and WIOA Adult Dislocated Worker Funding and the CARES Act. The CARES Act we received was $458,000 for our region, and so we have money to spend on training. And this partnership opened a lot of doors for these people to change their lives. Through our Access Committee, which is chaired by Voc Rehab, our members decided to have a reverse job fair. We had 25 employers and 17 job seekers. They created their storyboards, and the sponsoring agency prepped their job-ready candidates. We held an informational session for employers and talked about the advantages of hiring individuals with disabilities, along with information about the WOTC tax credit and providing accommodations. We had 2 people with disabilities speak about the challenges that they had when they were job hunting and how they overcame those challenges and have become successful in their occupations. The end result was each one of the job seekers said it built their confidence and made them feel so much better about accepting job interviews after the event. And within a few months, all 17 of the participants were hired. The employers love the reverse job fair, want to do it again. We've got one planned for later this fall, and it's going to be a virtual reverse job fair. So that's going to be something new for us.
How interesting. Thank you so much, Diane. June, would you mind discussing what Skill Up is?
Yes, I would be glad to. And thank you, Diane, for that wonderful background there. Skill Up is folks that receive food stamps. And of course, they're from the ages of 16 to 59. And so we try to serve those Skill Up clients and put them into the regular flow of our other clients that we serve. It's voluntary. Absolutely can't insist that they participate. But the first step into that is to find a job center. There are 36 job centers across the state of Missouri, and all they simply would have to do, if they weren't familiar with the locations, is to Google Missouri job centers. And so that would give them the address and phone numbers to call to set up an appointment with a case manager. They really do need to set up a meeting so that they have ample time to meet with their case managers. Case managers, when they call, will ask them several questions so that they understand what will happen when they show up. So they will let them know that there'll be some assessments that they'll need, and to be thinking about, what do you really want? Why are you calling me? You know, what is your goals? Because this is an opportunity for us to help on a journey to success, a better opportunity for their families and their future. Next slide. The case managers work very closely with the participants as they come in. First thing we want to do is to make sure that we set and help guide them towards SMART goals, because obviously, you know, the goal is to make them successful, to help them on that journey. Whenever they start the journey, you know, we want to let them feed the information, them being the customer, the participant. They have to be kind of specific. General goals is not good. We want to be specific. We want them to be measurable, to where they are something that we can benchmark with the success. Of course, we want them achievable, and we want them relevant to where the person lives and the goals and the opportunities for employment in that area. And of course, they need to be time-based. We need a beginning and an end, to where there is benchmarks in between with those times set, to where we can celebrate those successes. Of course, all the services through the Missouri Job Centers are at no cost, and they're no cost to any of the participants, or any citizen that comes in off of the street can use any of the services that I'm going to talk about in this slide. But, you know, a lot of times the job centers, we can have them to come in. Maybe they don't have access to phone or faxes. Some people do not have good internet connections or a computer at their home. So they come in and they meet with that case manager, and it's you know, it's a one-on-one meeting again, so they can gain the items that they need. Maybe they need help with an online application. They're very complicated these days, and so sometimes they just need help with that. Maybe they need their resume updated. Maybe they need a cover letter put with that. Maybe they are looking to look into their unemployment benefits. So there's a various reasons that people come into the job center, but all of that is to enhance their opportunities for life. So we register them into workshops that they think would be interesting to them. And again, we, depending on what they want to do, depending on their goals, will depend on the type of assessments that we use. But we make them copies, we can get them ready for their interview. Another good thing is sometimes those mock interviews that people, we kind of go through the exercise with them so they kind of know what to expect. Also here in our region, we have little pamphlets of what Skill Up is. And so we place these in food pantries. We place them in different places to where folks that maybe don't even know about the job centers, does not know where to go for these services, has our address and phone numbers to call. But the most important thing, there is no cost, but there has to be commitment from the participant. We can't just say, you know, come on in, get the free services, and there's no commitment. Next slide, please. So in the process of this one-on-one conversation, trying to find out what the customer or the participant is looking for, that we have to really, really listen to their needs, because this is all about their plan, all about their goals. So we develop that plan together, and we always, in the Southeast region, and I'm sure that a lot of the other regions do as well, dual enroll. And what that means is that sometimes when people are receiving food stamps, they lose their food stamps for whatever reason. Sometimes it's a good reason. Sometimes it's just something that just happens. And so if they were not dual enrolled, if they were in a training component, we would, they would actually have to stop the training. And that again is another defeat in their goals. So we dual enroll them into WIOA, and that will have them a continuous flow of training. We have taken our Skill Up case managers and given them the WIOA adult access to and training on how to enroll. So our Skill Up people that come in, our participants, work with that same case manager. And it's a little different in each of the areas, but we're all about seeing what that client needs, and again, referring them to other services that are available. We have all kinds of services that we can provide, but there are a lot of good community services out there. And in our region, the Southeast region, we have a tracking form that we have developed with the help of the partners through the collaboration of meetings with all of the partners, that we all braid these services together to serve these clients. And so we have developed a referral form. So if they come into the job center and say they need help with maybe energy assistance and things like that, maybe. So we would fill that out and connect them with the organization that can help them, the partner that can help them. And then the partner knows where they came from. Vice versa, if they come in and they need a job, they need a resume, then that organization would send them with that tracking form, which gives us a better opportunity to track the folks and hang on to them, because sometimes they kind of get lost in the system and get lost in the process. Next slide, please. Okay, how do we make your plan? There's several steps to it, and it's very intense. Some customers are a little more prepared, others are not. So we try to take, again, those SMART goals. We make them short terms to where, it's typically a year or less. I like to see kind of 3 or 4 months, and then they meet a goal, which really builds their self-esteem. The long-term goals, of course, depends on the amount of training or steps that they need to take to achieve that. Sometimes they like short-term training. Sometimes they maybe will finish up maybe a degree that they've started through a college program, and they just need to finish it up. So all participants come in at different levels, and that's why we have to be prepared to help them to think big, dream big. What's your plan? What do you want to do? And then take action, and that action comes from commitment. And again, the workshops and things are there. People can ask for the workshops. If we don't have what they want, then we certainly can get them. Due to COVID, which we've all experienced, we've had to look a little closer at utilizing virtual services. And so we've developed a lot of workshops online. So if they are at home and they want to view these workshops, then they can. If they need to come in, that's fine too. It's the convenience for the participant. Next slide, please. Soft skills is a must. I deal with businesses all the time, and it doesn't matter what level that the job seekers are. They could be very highly educated and still not have soft skills. We hear this over and over and over. So there is an array of soft skills workshops that's developed. It depends on, again, what they need. And through this journey of the one-on-one with the case managers and with the partners, all working with clients, then we can help see maybe where they don't recognize a shortfall and that they need something. Diane shared the dressing of those gentlemen as they're released. That's very important. The way we look is very important. It hinges on your self-esteem. Time management is huge. Employers always are saying, I don't understand why people can't show up on time. And so that's very important. And, those are things that we kind of connect with as we're working with those clients one-on-one. Everything we do is to enhance their plan and their dreams. and to get them on that road of success for them. And it is like Diane said, it does take several partners to get some of those folks to their end journey. Next slide, please. Again, utilizing the resources that the Job Center has. And again, there is just such a deep support there at the Job Centers if they will come and work with the case managers, work with the partners. We have supportive services that we can help them with. Sometimes they just need a little help. Maybe they need some transportation money. You know, just identifying their barriers and helping them to see a path around or over, or to meet that barrier head on and do something about it. Again, there's resources everywhere. If the case managers don't know, partners are out there with all kinds of resources. Missouri has a Missouri Service Navigator. All of the centers have these books or this database that they can refer to. State's done a very good job of keeping that updated with locals helps. So every Job Center has that available online to share, because sometimes some of these folks come in with very unique barriers and something maybe we have never been faced with, but we never turn them away and say, I don't know what you're going to do, just going to have to leave. That is not what we do. That is not part of the plan, and that's not part of their journey to have somebody else to tell them that they can't get any help. So we use the Job Centers. We use it to as their roadmap to get where they're going, and then we celebrate that journey whenever they complete and are successful. Next slide, please. And obviously, the end result is when they are able to obtain a job, a career, something that they enjoy doing, something that they feel that they can contribute to. That's all accomplished through a very intense case management and an employment plan. And as I talked earlier, having those short-term goals, having those long-term goals, having the opportunity to experience some of the places that they could possibly go to work through a work experience. Maybe they need just a little help getting hired. We can prepare them with mock interviews, prepare them with good resumes, help that employer to take a little extra time and invest in this person to give them some extra on-the-job training activities. And so we can help to offset that pay to that employer. And as Diane spoke, there's all kinds of different other caveats that the employer can tap into as they help these folks on their journeys. The main thing is, again, always going back to those specific goals. You know, we've got to maintain a specific goal. It has to be measurable so that the customer, the client feels like they have succeeded. Short goals, then there is the long goal that they have achieved. And it has to be relevant to what they want, not what we think you need. It's what you know that you really want to do. And after that commitment time, we hope that we can celebrate their journey and they feel like that they've had somebody that they can continue to have that connection to. Even though we finish out their work, their journey, we get them a job, we're still there to help them through some of the barriers that they still might encounter. The biggest thrill that a case manager can get, and believe it or not, sometimes us directors get to benefit in those, is when somebody calls and said, I couldn't have done it without you. That is all we need to just give us the strength to tackle another person and help them. That kind of concludes my piece of the what is Skill Up and how we braid our partners together.
Thank you so much, June. I love hearing how change is happening one person at a time and one community at a time. It's a powerful impact. Sally, could you take a deeper dive into braiding and discuss the respective regions' funding options?
Yes, thank you so much, Sonia, for that introduction earlier. Diane and June, you're right. It takes a village and we're all in this together. That was great information that you're sharing and that you did share. I appreciate it. And before I get started, I want to thank Haley. You can see her name on the screen. Her video is off, but Haley was kind enough and great at putting this whole presentation together. and she's driving the boat today. And so I just want to say thank you so much, Haley, for helping us along with this. I do want to say before I get started, Haley, would you advance the slide to the pie chart? Thanks. I want to start here. It really shows our diversity in funding, and what I want to take a deeper dive into is talking about that. You know, with over 500 workforce regions throughout the nation, you can see that we're all very diverse. We're diverse in the way we're set up. Some boards are incorporated. We're a city government. Some are county government. We're all very different, but our mission and vision are all the same, and we want to help people with jobs and training and move them on an upward trajectory towards success, and that's what we all have in common. We have 14 regions within the state of Missouri, and I represent the Ozark region, and we have 7 counties. And you know, even within those specific regions, we're still very different, the different counties. So you know, we have one county right now in the state and in our region that is still experiencing, you know, the mid-level double-digit unemployment, whereas the region that I'm in right now, or the county I'm in right now, has gone down 0.5%, you know, steadily over the past month or so. So even within our specific regions, they're all very different, and our funding is very diverse as well. So you can see from this pie chart that we all receive Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act funding, and that's from the Department of Labor, and it's funneled to the Office of Higher Education and Workforce Development through the state of Missouri, and then a formula is applied, and those are allocated out to the different workforce regions. And even within that, there's smaller discretionary funding. We have a Show Me Heroes Fund. It's the very, very tiny 1% round piece of the pie. And that works with veterans returning and their families, their spouses. We receive some equal opportunity funding to ensure that we're all being diverse and inclusive, and provide our staff opportunities for training and continued education. The TANF, Missouri Work Assistance Program, we operate that program in the Southwest region in the state of Missouri, and we get Skill Up funding, and you can see that. And then there's also TANF Summer Jobs. It's called Jobs League because it's traditionally not just summer anymore. But we also have in our specific region the America's Promise Grant. That's a direct federal grant from the Department of Labor, which trains in healthcare occupations. And then we also have a direct federal grant from the Environmental Protection Agency, which offers environmental cleanup job training. That's been a really successful grant. And I say that just to, again, talk about the sometimes complex and diversity of our funding. And if you can imagine, you know, some of these funding opportunities run on the fiscal year, you know, July 1st through June 30th. Some are on the federal fiscal year of October 1st through September 30th. So you really have to, you know, continue to look at your funding, be very intentional and strategic when we talk about braiding and leveraging all of these resources that we have. You know, we have to continually watch it. We all have, of course, different allowability and scopes of works, even further within all these different funding. But one thing I do want to say, when somebody comes to a job center, you know, they shouldn't have to worry about which piece of the pie, you know, that they're receiving. The only thing they should have to worry about is getting their service and their needs met. We'll worry about the rest. They shouldn't have to worry about, well, you're in, you know, we owe a youth, or, and then I'm going to co-enroll you and use Skill Up funding for your training. They shouldn't have to worry about that. That's on us. And I think we all do a really good job at making sure that they don't have to work with that. Haley, would you go back to the America's Promise? Right there, thank you. So these are some of our, you know, I mentioned the EPA grant. Mo Works Together. That's a grant, a national emergency grant that the state of Missouri received to allow us to train peer support specialists for the opioid crisis. There were 4 regions within the state of Missouri that tends to have a higher number of opioid use and effects, and we received funding for that. Abilities First, we work with a company here in town. We received a small discretionary grant to do apprenticeships, those with differing abilities. And the state of Missouri, every region in the state of Missouri received $458,000 in some CARES Act training funding. And you can see from the green bubble, we talk about CARES Act funding at $4,000. They've recently increased that to $6,500. It's an incredible opportunity for our customers throughout the state of Missouri to get up to a $6,500 training voucher for short-term training. But you can see that the CARES Act funding, assisted a welding participant, $4,000 towards the training, and while the Skill Up Fund would pay for the rest of the training up to a ceiling of $15,000 per participant. So that is a prime example of co-enrolling that I know June talked about earlier, how important that is, because it really allows you to broaden your services for each individual. Supportive services are also key. Some funds allow them, some funds don't. But again, if you're braiding and leveraging those resources, it just allows you to assist that customer broadly. And again, another example, Jordan Valley Medical Assistant, currently on food stamps, she can qualify for the now $6,500 in CARES Act funding towards certification. And then our America's Promise grant, that direct federal grant that I mentioned earlier, covers the remaining $11.35 and 20 cents of that training. So again, those are just, examples. I do want to talk about virtual world that we're all living in. This is unprecedented times. I know all the regions in the state of Missouri, we have weekly phone calls, just kind of what we're looking at. I will say all job centers are open in the state of Missouri right now. I think we're one of the first states in the nation to open all of our job center. However, I will say, we've learned a lot from this, and we're really using this as an opportunity to really look at our services. I think we've had to be more targeted and intentional in our approach. And again, that goes back to the braiding and the leveraging of those services, taking our workshops online, taking our services online. I mean, and I know that we're going to continue to do that, but what it is allowed to do is not only to continue and, keep our services seamless through this, uncharted territory that we're all walking in right now, but in addition to that, it increases our social media outreach, and it has allowed us to reach job seekers that we've never reached before. We know that there is a large population of customers that have never stepped foot in a job center. And transportation and childcare are 2 of the main barriers that we see. And I've heard that that's very common nationwide. But, doing this targeted and intentional, taking our services virtually has allowed us to reach them, which is a great, great opportunity. Of course, we do Zoom meetings for our participants, for our enrollment and our case management. And even though our job center is back open in the Ozark region, I will say we're still keeping those because there is apprehension out there. People are still apprehensive to not just to go back to work, but to get out, understandably so. And with schools going back, we know that there's many, many parents that are remote learning their children or virtual learning their children, and it's not convenient for them to come into a job center. Facebook Live, we utilized Facebook Live massively during our shutdown. I will say, and I know June and Diane would probably agree, even though a job center is not an unemployment office, during the shutdown, that's sort of who we had to be. But we know that we're here for the community. We're here to be whatever they need from us. So we were answering calls the best we could, providing those resources according to the economy and the community. Now that we're back open, we're really encouraging people to get that short-term training and to get back into the workforce. And of course, Zoom meetings with our business service representatives. We have a team here in the Ozark region that works specifically with training providers and employers. There are a lot of jobs out there. We have one section in town, a manufacturing section in town, and they have, just in the one section alone, they have over 300 job openings. So we're trying to connect those services together. Elaine, next slide. And okay, yes. And I just want to leave you with an example and a success story. And I will say there was a media release signed. And so she was very happy that we could share her information. But she was actually, this customer was referred to Skill Up program by a WIOA case manager in Mount Vernon, Missouri. And so they started working with her. She was not in a great situation. She lived with an abusive relative and was very motivated to get her and her daughter out of that home, out of that situation. So even though we shut down, we continued to work and we connected through Zoom and FaceTime. We conducted meetings with her, worked on her resume, interviewing tips, talked about job applications. And April 18th, and April was a rough month. Everything was shut down. At least I can say, for the state of Missouri, everything was shut down in April, pretty much for the whole month. But that's how we took our services online, and we didn't stop working. We were successful remote working, and I think it's just proving that, again, we can keep all these services virtually. We know that there's still, a need for in-person services, but she retained employment. KFC in Mount Vernon, $10 an hour, and she received TRE, or transportation reimbursement expenses, for the first 90 days. And she was able to move away from her abusive situation and into an apartment on her own. And, when she was asked, what's the most important person who's noticed a change? And you can see from her quote, it's been herself. She's happy with her success and happy to be safe and a great role model for her daughter moving forward. And at the end of the day, it's all about the people. And June and Diane both talked about that. It's all about the people, and anything we can do to leverage our services, leverage our resources, rate those services, use those referrals. We're all in this together. This is a very collaborative spirit that we have going on here, and we couldn't do it alone. Like Diane said, it does take a village, and but it's also really important to look at all your resources, see where you can braid and where you can leverage, because it just allows you to serve more people and more broadly. And that's all I have. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much to each and every single panelist. I am so excited to see more success stories like the one we just witnessed. Before we begin our Q&A session, we would like to thank our presenters for addressing this timely and interesting topic. At this time, we will post questions for attendees that have been collecting throughout the presentation. Please note that you may still submit questions using the Q&A feature. Let's begin. Okay, so it will, so far, and again, I'm gonna double check to see if it's changed. So this is a rough pencil it in if you want to do an hour before and an hour later. I've got it down for braiding services. It'll be 2:30 Central Standard Time.
2:30. Okay.
Your time. But again, that might change by half an hour. Things keep adapting. But I'll go ahead and follow up. I just didn't want to keep sending you meeting invites so you kept feeling less and less certain. Every time I would get an email saying, so sorry, I'm like, great, I'm going to send a so sorry email. So
No, it's perfect.
we'll
Thank
wait
you.
until that week.
We all
Good
know,
job.
we all understand that, believe it or not.
Oh, I'm sure you do with all the hats that you wear. I'm sure you do quite well and make it look effortless. So, but I'll go ahead and wait until it gets closer so you know for sure. But if you want to block out about an hour before, an hour after, that'll give you time. The nice thing is that you can work on other stuff during your presentation until the Q&A. You've already done all the hard work.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. All right.
That never happens. Well, thank you so much. You have a great morning.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Good
Bye.
job. Bye.
Bye.